Hello and welcome to the Heart Powered Ventures podcast, Running a Business from Your Heart. I'm Dave Gold. I'm your host. I'm also the founder of Heart Powered Ventures. And this month, our theme in our podcast and our Commonwealth group has been branding and storytelling. What does it mean to actually describe your business from the heart? And last week, we had Kevin Clark, who is a world renowned branding expert, really phenomenal human being. And we were just so lucky to have him in the Commonwealth meeting and as our podcast guest. And there's a phrase that he's used before that I borrowed from him when he's talking about companies and how to describe your company and how to describe your business. He uses the term creation myth. And that is what we're going to be talking about today, which is what is the story of your company? And what does it mean to tell the story of your company from the heart? That's what this whole theme is about. What does it mean to be able to describe not only the business that you're in, but describing it not only what it is now, but how you got to that point and how that whole journey reflects, really kind of reflects your life's ambition and your life's love in that. So what we're going to be doing today is teasing out that creation myth. And I have the great good fortune. I mean, as I said, last week we have Kevin Clark, who I know from experiences, is about a $10,000 a day consultant. And I have today Isabella Reeves Smith, who is every bit as valuable and as amazing and as incredible as any consultant, any individual I've ever met. And she also happens to be my stepdaughter. So, Isabella, welcome and thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Dave.
So, look, you got to live up to Kevin Clark, okay? It's a high bar,
It is a high bar.
but I know you can do it. So, Isabella, first of all, just tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk about why I invited you today and the company that you and your mother are building and the creation myth of the story behind it.
You really put me on the spot there, Dave.
That's what I do.
um, well, the me in a nutshell, the boring stuff at least. I'm a freshman at Guilford College. And then my passions up until this point have been fashion design and or costume design. So that's what I did for my senior project. In high school, I attended Emerson Waldorf School. Um, and now my path is kind of shifting towards real estate, which is something that has been a dream of me and my mother's for a very long time.
Okay. So, first of all, tell me about, I guess we should start the relationship between you and your mother also happens to be my beloved wife. So I think, first of all, tell me about, you mentioned about a dream of working with your mom. Tell me a little bit about the relationship you and your mom enjoy.
Just ours in general.
Yeah, just yours in general or yours in specific.
um, I mean, she's my best friend. We've been just as close as two people can be for forever. We've been, we have our ups and downs, but really, as we're tight as can be. And that relationship has shifted over the last couple of years as where I'm at in life has changed. I did move away from home briefly, trying that college in-person thing, but I'm back now. So, I mean, me and my whole family, we're really close, but my mom and I, we used to talk when I was little. I didn't want to ever think about, moving out. Little did I know, like someday I would want that. But we would joke about me just moving into like a little cottage in the backyard. And now that I'm like grown and I'm talking about wanting to have a house of my own, she's like, okay, I'll just move into the little cottage then. So
I thought the little cottage was to get me out of the house so I stopped making a mess. How many little cottages are we planning on building?
well, Dave, you have to understand that this little cottage was going to be really cute, and yours is going to be more like a little shed
Okay.
for you and your glop.
Okay. That's terrific.
Yes.
All right. This will be our next real estate project. So, I mean, and I can just, I mean, I have never seen, I literally is in my almost, I hate to say almost 70 years because it's freaking me out that I'm getting close to that point. But in my long life, I've never really seen a mother-daughter relationship quite like yours. And it was beautiful just as an aside to navigate that, to realize that I was coming in, I was the third wheel in something that was really quite beautiful.
As you love to remind me, I didn't like you.
No, you didn't. But over 6 years, I think I've just worn you down.
That's exactly right.
And I don't know. We should just declare a victory and go our separate ways. But so you've had this dream of working with your mother. You've had interest in real estate and design. Tell me about the business that you and your mother are now in, and it's just emerged kind of almost fully formed.
Yeah, it's hard to even put words to because it's so like original, I think. And we're my mom and I, have we do things slightly different from Dave in many ways, but one of which is we like not in a lazy way, but we when something feels natural, like it's just coming to you, like you can tell the universe is like really pushing you in a certain direction. That's then we just go with the flow and we get so far on like that wave. And that's what's been happening recently is just this natural flow pushing us in a certain direction. And we're just still carrying that out. But what it's going to turn into is um, a house flipping business, which is kind of what we always, it's what we thought we wanted to do. But this is going to be with a specific customer in mind. And so a client will come to us with a house that they either just have or like they just bought or have lived in for years and want to like spruce up. And that will like we'll have then a big canvas to work with because instead of designing and renovating a house for a market, in which case you have to pick very neutral paint, you have to, you buy cheap fixtures, everything that's just making it ready for the market. You get to design it for a specific person involved. So then that's when you really get to be creative, which is what me and my mom both want to do. So it's very specialized.
And as we've teased it, we're going to talk about how the forces that have conspired to kind of make this all come about in a very, very quick way. Um, but the essence of it is, I think the best way is that you're helping families kind of discover the soul of their house and build a house that really, or a home that really reflects their deepest values.
Yeah, that's how we've been branding it.
Yeah. And that, and just as a little bit of background is that we actually have we actually have people ready to refer you customers. And it's like we're in this lovely situation, as a business person and someone who's mentors a lot of people in business, where you actually have customers with their checkbook out waiting for you to be able to put enough of an infrastructure together to write a check. So that is a that's a switch, and I love it. So so tell me why this business. Well, so let's just talk about the present. Tell me why this business lands on so many blocks of, or so many areas of your passion and what you envision for the future for yourself. Why does this feel like, oh my goodness, this is my dream business?
You just said, answer this in the present, but I do have to go to the past because my mom's side of the family has kind of always been in real estate, and that's looked different for each generation. My grandfather bought, back in his day, he bought a bunch of farmland, and that farmland's still, an investment to this day. It's being sold off. He's still farming some of it, not him, but he's developing a bunch. He sells it off, and he's got farms in different states. And my mom and her two siblings will own some of that land, and they make money off of that land still today. Um, and so that's what it looked like, in that third generation. And then with my mom, she always wanted to do house flipping, and she didn't know exactly what that looked like until recently. And then my brother and I mean, I don't really know where it comes from. I just chalk it up to heritage. We've always wanted to do real estate. Him and I a bit more perhaps on the like investment and like commercial level. Like I've always told my mom I want to own just like a whole block of a downtown somewhere and make it into like the
Uh,
coolest, thing ever with, where people can go and just have fun, whatever that looks like. So these are just things I've kept in the back of my head. And then, but recently, I'm an artist. I love every form of art. Um, and so I just see a house as another canvas. And as Dave and I have talked about, probably on another interview when it came to my fashion design, I like designing for a specific person. That's like where I draw my inspiration from. Um, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing with houses.
so this is beautiful. So this is I was getting back to the term I used earlier about the creation myth. Is that one? what you're doing now ties back to so many of the kind of the pieces that I've seen. And you talk about one, the beautiful relationship you have with your mom. And there are stories within stories within stories that we like to share amongst ourselves as a family in terms of that. So the dream of that, there's the that you there's your real estate, kind of the real estate lineage that runs through it, and you and even you and your brother having like this mysterious connection to something that you can't even explain.
Hmm.
And then there's your love of beauty and your love of design and your love of fashion, and all of those coming together in this particular moment. So tell me why you're excited. Tell me why right now is just such an exciting, and just even in terms of your individual of you being 19 and looking at what your future might look like, what your anyway, just talk about that. Enough of me.
Yeah, sometimes I have ideas of what my future looks like, but not really. For the most part, I just go with the flow. So, the college step was really pivotal. I had originally, my projected future was to take a gap year, and I thought that's what I wanted and what made the most sense. But I also knew that on a gap year, I wanted to be working, doing an internship, being abroad. And then, COVID struck, so we had to quickly, alter that picture. And so I chose to go to college because I was doing nothing else. I needed, I was really ready to make friends, develop a new peer group. Um, and doing that was the best choice for me. I kind of went to Guilford on a whim. They gave me a huge scholarship. But then the other interesting thing is for 5 or 6 years now, I felt this weird pull to Greensboro. So this again is just part of like the path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in seventh or eighth grade, I went with my class on a trip to Greensboro because it's a big hub, specifically with Quakers, Guilford, obviously. But then also,
People, Guilford is a Quaker
yes,
school.
Guilford's base, yes, in Quaker values, was established by Quakers. And so in that Quaker hub of Greensboro, there was the Underground Railroad. The Quakers were the people helping the slaves escape. So there's really good history in that sense in Greensboro. So we went to Guilford on a class trip in seventh or eighth grade to visit the graves of these significant people, visit one of the trees that the Underground Railroad, like that existed with the Underground Railroad. Um, and when we were driving around, I was just looking at the houses, and I came home and I was like, oh my gosh, mama, they have like the best houses to renovate. I didn't even remember that this was Greensboro until she brought that up like a week ago when we went to Greensboro to look at houses to renovate. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is a sign that shows we are on the right path, because it's something that's just kind of been in my subconscious almost for 5 years now. So that's part one. And the second one, I completely derailed myself. um,
No, we're talking about what this means, what this opportunity means in this moment in terms of you and how you.
yeah. Okay. So yes. So I went to college for yes, and that was the right choice then. But I don't know if it is now because So I feel this pull to real estate, and so we're also gonna just kind of go with the flow with that. But that's one of the reasons I'm so excited is because it's like, okay, at first I was just adapting, and now like I'm actually doing what I need to be doing.
Yeah, you're proactive. And it's interesting because what are we doing this afternoon when we're done with this interview?
We are going to Greensboro to look for houses. So.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, so tell me what it's. I mean, you're 19, and you're obviously quite, poised, and everyone sees that. Um, but right now, it's almost like you're. If this takes off, what could the future? What do you see the future maybe unfolding as if, with this project coming in and with people wanting to throw money at us and you, it's your business, throw money at you guys and doing what it is you've always dreamed of doing. How does that, you kind of at a crossroads now where you've got college and you've also got this possibility
Right.
of doing the business full time.
Well, I've always had what we'll call like ideals for business. I've known I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never wanted to work a desk job a day in my life. And I wanted to skip all the steps of like building a business and making, small sums of money and having, that area of clientele to just going straight to the top. But I never actually had to think about like how this works and face the realities of that maybe not happening. And so with this endeavor, I it will just be a family business, which is something my family has always wanted to do. I mean, ever since we met you, you've heard us say like, oh, what could our family business be? And I mean, you guys don't know my brother, but he is so different from me. You hear me talk about me and my mom, and it's like, oh, their interests are all, similar. My brother's, he's a wild card. He's completely different. So the fact that even, real estate is this like
Common.
common denominator between the three of us is like a miracle in and of itself. Um, so yeah, the family business and this being it makes a lot of sense so that it does become a generational thing, but it also becomes like a whole pyramid of skills that all three of us can develop and make it our own, which I think is maybe the most exciting part. Is this has so much potential to branch off into various things.
So this you just opened something up, Isabella, because I was thinking about creation myth, and that's the theme I thought we'd talk about, and it's fine, it's a great thing. But it seems like the creation myth is it's a collective, it's an individual myth, but it's also collective. This dream is individual and collective. And I'm thinking the fact that yes, from the time I've met you, it's family business, and I've tried how many family businesses have I tried to find for us to do? And I mean, I
I
think
mean, you alone have done so many businesses. Yeah, collectively,
I know, and
it's a fair sum.
I've always had that in mind. That, and then it's like, for one thing, I just want to mention there's to everyone. There's like there was a moment where like, oh, this is it. I just really I think there's just a sense where you feel a thing coming together, and I look back at the kind of the other things that we've tried or I've envisioned or whatever, and saying, well, it really was the perfect moment. And I think that's so there's something so satisfying about that. And I don't know what your feeling about that is. I know that you've rolled your eyes when I said, Isabel, I've got a great idea for a family business. And I don't think you're rolling your eyes as much right now.
No, because this isn't it really as much ease as happened with this. It didn't just like drop out of the sky. Like this has been, I mean, an idea, even if I hadn't like formed it into words yet from a very young age. Like I was telling Dave the other day, when I was in 6th grade, we were doing a business course. And so our teacher asked us like what we thought we might want to do when we grew up. And of course I had no idea. And I've always known that I had no idea what I wanted to do, and that's fine. But the closest thing I had was interior design. I knew I didn't want to go to school for it, but it was something that I absolutely loved. And so this is just a bigger version of that. Interior design for me, it's too cookie cutter. So this is just a broader spectrum of that creativity.
So I think there's the beauty of the I feel like I mean I'm excited, but I'm also just moved by watching this thing come together, and being able to pull this together as a family is just so satisfying from every sense of the word. But also just forgetting that and forgetting what I thought, what the theme kind of is, which is your creation myth being branding your company from the heart and being able to talk about why it's exciting now and why this is kind of reverse engineering your life to be able to say, oh, this is the steps I got to it. So that's kind of what the creation myth is we've been doing here. But there's also something that from working with, hundreds, if not thousands of entrepreneurs over my career, is there's a leap, there's a fearlessness that's required. And I just want you, I don't know what I'm really asking you, except one, to just acknowledge the fearlessness you have at 19 and what advice or experience you could lend to anybody, whether they're 19 or whether they're, 69, in terms of following that dream or just having the courage to just jump off and go for it.
It comes so naturally to me, not to like toot my own horn, but I mean, I only say that because you're asking me to give advice, and I almost don't know like the steps and emotions that are involved in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially, I mean, it's just how I live my life. I just sometimes there's a lot of build up. Like I'll stay in the same place, almost like spinning my wheels for a while until there's like this dam of like, wait, something needs to change, and then it's like this huge change. So I don't do things subtly and slowly. Um, and this hasn't been building up because I'm only 19. It was very natural to happen when it did, because now I can be an actual business partner. But I mean, Dave sat us down and he's been like, not quite to this extent, but kind of like what could go wrong and like how are you going to deal with that. And I kind of, I went through the worst case scenario in my head and it wasn't that bad. And I was like, okay, so we just, we jump right in. It's how I do things. You might as well just do it full on.
Hmm.
But also things kind of come naturally to me. Like I can pick things up. So that's a real benefit to this project.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. I guess it's really not so much of advice as much as just I want people to feel, and I think they can't help but feel just the kind of the fearlessness and the spirit of in the adventurousness of just what an adventure this whole thing is and how much fun that is.
Yeah, and I mean, like you go into it knowing that I learned through trial and error, like absolutely completely. Like I was teaching myself to knit socks a week ago, and I took the socks out like 8 or 9 times, like over the duration of making them until they were right. And it takes longer that way than just using a pattern, but it's what I like to do. And then when I made the second sock, it was smooth sailing because I'd learned on the first. Um, so it's kind of that, like I know it'll be trial and error, but it's not like you succeed or you fail. It's like you have little miniature failures and you just go back and alter them and then you succeed eventually. So
Terrific. So if people, well, let's see the best way to do this. So if people are interested in you and your mom helping to find the soul of their home, and I realize there's something else here that a lot of our viewership and our ecosystem consists of people that have children who are who are entrepreneurial in nature and interested in that. And I think that you could just be a great, not just an inspiration, but really just a great mentor in this as well to help along. So I would encourage. I'm going to ask you just to give your in a second just how people get a hold of you. Um, but I would say that also if you have someone that you want them to brush up against Isabella's heart or spirit or wisdom and be able to relate to someone in this age category, that's also a service that Isabella provides. So Isabella, I think if not only are you and your mother in the business of helping people find the souls of their home and build the souls of their home, but I also know that you are inspirational to me and to others, especially people, young entrepreneurs starting out, such as yourself. And if you could give us the best way to get you, and then I'll also make sure that we put your Instagram handle on the screen so people could do it. How can people reach you?
yeah, Instagram's the best way because in my young person ways, I don't really check my email religiously. So I would look me up on Instagram. It's Alabassi Severe. That's my name, Isabella Reeves backwards. Um, and you can direct message me. I always check my DMs and I will be happy to reply. So
And that is on the screen here as well. And also, you can reach out through Heart Powered Ventures, and we will put you in touch with Isabel as well.
oh yeah,
But it's
I
just
know him. So
yeah, we talked. I got to say, there's not many good things about COVID, um, but I would have to say, making the best of the situation, just having bonus time with you now. It was, as much as I love having time with just your mother and I really miss you. So I'm so glad to have you back. And I think that might be one of my ulterior motives to make sure this business works, to make sure that we all get to stay in touch. The funny thing is, Isabel, she didn't like me very much beginning. So
that's hey.
I know, but it did talk about running a business from the heart. There's just so much heart and love in this household, and it's manifesting in so many ways. And I am just so incredibly grateful to have you in my life and to have you as a business partner. So thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us. And again, everyone, we'll talk next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.